Hi, I'm Mr. Saris and I teach math at DLS. I teach pre-algebra, which would be your equivalent of 8th grade math. And today we're going to learn about multiplication and adding money. So here we go. Multiplication. What is multiplication? Multiplication is the same as saying we're going to repeat addition. You can go ahead and write that in your notes. Multiplication is repeated addition. I'll show you how it works. In order to do this, we're going to look at the number of rows and columns. In yellow here, I'm highlighting the number of rows. In red, I'm highlighting the number of columns. How do you keep them straight? I always try to remember that columns go up and down, like a column would if it had the tops on it and the stripes, like a regular column. That's how I remember rows and columns. When we do repeated addition, we're really asking ourselves, how many rows and columns do we have? Well, if we look and we count the number of elements in one of the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're really adding 5, the number of rows that we have. So 5 is added 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So it's going to be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So that we know that we have 20 items. When we have 20 items, we could also say that we have 4 rows by 5 columns. That's how we do repeated addition, also known as multiplication. Now it's time for you to try. Here's one with smiley faces. I'd like for you to write the number of rows and columns as a multiplication problem and also as a sum using repeated addition. If it helps, you can go ahead and write on and draw this diagram out and try to label your rows and columns. Did you figure out how to do it? Let's look at it. If I look at the number of elements in each row, 1, 2, 3, 4, I know that I'll be taking 4 and adding it 1, 2, 3 times. So I have 4 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 12. If I write it as multiplication, it's going to be 4 elements times 3 rows is equal to 12. That's multiplication as repeated addition. The next skill that we're going to look at is how do I add money? Adding money. Adding money has 4 steps. It's always a good idea if you see a numbered list when a teacher is teaching that you should write it down. Step number 1. For step number 1, I'm going to line up the decimal points. In step number 2, I'm going to add my zeros. Step number 2, you may not always have to do. In step number 3, I'm going to add. And in step number 4, I'm going to add my money sign. And I'm going to put in my decimal point. Okay, so these are the 4 steps. Let's look at how we do this. In step 1, I'm going to write them in a column. So I have $3.45. This is where it gets tricky. I need to be sure to line up the decimal points. Plus $6.23 Notice I'm in a line with my decimal points, plus 50 cents, and you'll notice that 50 cents is written as a decimal. So I've got $0.5. I put my addition sign out front, and if you'll remember, I'm going to add my zeros. I don't have any zeros to add in this case. Remember, I told you that was an optional step. So when I go to do my third step, I'm going to add, like normal, in columns. So I'm going to add my smallest column first, my column to the right. 5 plus 3 is 8. No regrouping necessary. 4 plus 5 is 9. Plus 2 would be 11. I carry my 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 6 is 10. Bring down my 0. And I know that in this column I'm going to have a 1. In my final step, I need to add my decimal point and my dollar sign. My decimal point goes in line with all the rest of my decimal points. And my dollar sign goes out front. So when I add these three sums, I get $10.18. Now it's your turn. I have three dollar amounts here, but be careful on this second one. You may need to add some zeros to that one. I'll give you a chance to write this one down. I'm going to write it now, but you can go ahead and see if you can do the next steps by yourself. Did you catch the trick? I added zeros behind my $3 to make sure that I had my columns lined up. And now I add like normal. Remembering, of course, to label, because we don't want to lose points for that. And remembering to put my decimal point in line with my other decimal points. And that's how you add money, and how you do repeated addition as multiplication. Thanks for watching.